Tell us about your mom.
My mother is next to indescribable. Beautiful speaking voice. She was approached in Boston to be a commentator, and she said, I'm not going to entertain anyone. And if there's any talking to be done, I'll do it. That's my mother. And she did. She had a voice that would knock your socks off. Her speaking voice and her, she was indescribable.
What's her name?
Frances Ridley Havergal Bennett.
Wow.
Because that's an artist. That was an artist. And Mama loved the long name, Frances Ridley, R-I-D-L-E-Y. That was it, Frances Ridley Inglesby. So they said, what religion are you? And I used to say, you first. They want to get you stuck. You know, that's what they really want to do. So you look perplexed through the whole thing. So I told them to bring a piece of chalk with them and I'll get my blackboard. Something that's easy to erase, you know. And so they said, yeah, are you sure? I said, is Paul Revere Paul Revere? I was fresh.
Mom, tell us a little bit about growing up and your sisters.
Well, I had a different father because the first one passed away, and he was Walter Frederick Inglesby. And he was indescribable, soft-spoken, patient. He was that, indescribable. And he always would close his book, because he would like to read, and he would look at you and listen. Didn't interrupt, just listened. And that is a treasure, to have somebody that just listens. And that's who I miss most, Papa. Yeah. So it wasn't Daddy, wasn't Dad, it wasn't Pa, Ma. My elder sisters, because they were all elders, they spoke when they were spoken to. My mother said, don't rush your answers. You speak when you're spoken to. Give a few seconds for you to get your bearing and speak when you're spoken to, by name. So you don't call someone, you know, pigeon-toed or, you know, things like that. So I said, well, how about ding-toed? Now, people don't know what ding-toed is. Do you know what it is? It's you walk like this. That's ding-toed. And this is falling arches.
Mom, you had some sisters.
Yes.
Bea and Franny.
Yeah, Beatrice, and she was a contralto and had a voice that you couldn't even describe. At 4'10", and built like Mae West. And she was unaware of her power, totally unaware. So that's what I guess, provoked her to say, if I had a brain, I'd be dangerous. She made fun of herself, never of anybody else. And I think that is a treasure. If you're going to be a jackass, act like one, and people won't have any problem remembering your name. It's
true.
so, yeah, it's so true. Truisms. They've got it all, got it all.
You had a good childhood, Mom. You used to go to the movies, and you grew up on Thorpe Street.
And I never went alone. My senior sisters took me. They flanked me to go to the movies. So I could see, you know, Jane Withers, Shirley Temple, Sybil Jason. These are all the oldies of that year, that time. And the things that I did was I always had one of my senior sisters walk me and went with me to the movies. I was not allowed to go in there by myself.
Yeah.
So I was looked after and protected.
Well, what about?
Yes, Jennifer. That's the treasure to hear that. It served me well, because my mother said, she's quite precocious. So then my mother would say, she'd look at somebody nearby and say, do you know what that means? I don't want to know, because they didn't know what I was going to say. So I had fun with that. And that was the whole idea, to have fun. You've got one life to live. Help people laugh, mostly at themselves. So that's asking a lot, but I didn't care. I didn't get my feelings hurt easily. I think because I was positive and belligerent, but always kindly, you know? And that helped me through school and everything. So when my teacher, Miss Drew, she said, Dorothy is going to recite the cremation of Sam McGee.
Where was your job when you worked in the art department?
At the Kemp Corporation.
Oh.
And they talked with me. They had me.
What was the nut company? Sold nuts?
Yeah, it was a sweetmeats. Sweetmeats. They had candy, chocolates, you name it. Kemp, E.F. Kemp.
And then somewhere along the way, Mom, you met Dad.
I have
and
no.
had Robert and I.
Yeah.
Billy Boy.
Yeah.
What do you remember most and cherish most about that time of your life?
Billy Boy was indescribable. He was kind, thoughtful. That's about as nice as you can get, I think. And he was top drawer. So I would say, how's my little top drawer today? You know, I'd get this at this fire station where all of them, here comes Dottie, get ready. And they were ready for me because I was fresh. And made them laugh. And what are they supposed to do all day? Sit there with the big door open at the fire station and, you know, count their blessings or whatever they're supposed to do. So I had the time of my life. But you make your own time. You do that. Everybody should do it. And some people, they don't care. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to be creative and most of the time they can't be. They're not the types, you know. And so there you are sitting there with your bare face hanging out and saying, how long is this going to last? He said, so long as you're able to stay here. I said, that gives me permission then. Goodbye and have a nice day. And I left. So we had a little song about that. I had a good job and I left. First they hired me, then they fired me. Then, by golly, I left. Now, I made that up because I thought it was kind of fun, you know. And that's how you feel when you're 7 years old. And that's the age of truly understand what you're about. And a lot of kids, you know, they get away with letting out some strong language. They don't get disciplined. So that's in your favor. If you don't get loud and boisterous and rude and all that.
You met him and then you eloped. So if you could...
That's what I said, and his eyes lit up like Christmas trees when I said, because he said, well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. You know, he didn't know where to go with anything much. But he was a gem. Well, I was the only babysitter that nobody would want their children looked after but me. So I said, well, I'm only one person. That's all right, we'll wait, they used to say. Because I had a sense of the ridiculous. So that always made people laugh. And I got outrageous, you know. So that, and the fellas at the fire station, here's Dottie, get ready, you know, because I was going to squelch all of them. They thought, but I went, and then that's what I came up with when I said, if I had a brain, I'd be dangerous. And they were still laughing about that all those years ago. And so the little street I lived on was a dead-end street. And then we had favorites there that were indescribable. And I was called the Little Mutt. And I said, thank you. He says, you thanked somebody for calling you a little mutt? I said, better than a few other words I can think of. What's your excuse? And I put that in all the time. So I had a gift. That was my gift. I could think of anything to say I wanted without swearing or calling someone down. I made fun of me, not other people. And so that knocked people out because that was, it was funny and it was fun.
Your hobby, astrology, Mom, how has it helped you in your life?
So many ways. I couldn't think of all the ways because the clock time denotes the time, and nobody can change that when you were born. So I had that going for me all the time, that if I wanted to make fun of somebody, I knew how to do it without hurting their feelings, because I wanted to hurt my feelings because I was, anything but dumb as a plank, and I love that term. He's dumb as a plank. Well, a plank is a piece of wood. So I had a lot of fun with my fun. I had a lot of fun with it.
When did you discover astrology? When did
Yeah,
you
that's a
liked that?
good question. Because I was reading on it all the time, so they made it very pertinent to remember the clock time. Because the clock time, when your mother gives birth to you, that's your ascendant. That's the way you see the world and how the world sees you. And I had the time of my life. That's what I had. So we had the woman who was a big grouch. So I used to say, "Good morning, big grouch." She put her nose up here. I said, "Watch it, you might trip and break your face." I said fresh things. So I said, so we had Mr. Card, and I said, "You don't need the mister, just say you're a card." He said, "I don't like that expression." I said, "Good. It's yours. I've given it to you, and don't use anything else when you talk to me. Card. That'll do it." Everybody looked in horror at me because that's the way it was. And the clerk at the store at the corner, Kai's store, he was indescribably handsome. And I said, "Well, you're very blessed. You're a fine-looking gentleman." And he said, "Nobody ever said that to me." I said, "There's a few other things that you will never have heard before." But I said, I'm not here to play games about that, so I'll just leave it. And he was over 6 feet, handsome. Oh, my word. And there I was at the corner, Thorpe and Highland Avenue. And Frances, my senior sister, she lived on Broadway, and she was unassuming. She never did get it. She just didn't get it. So she took after, I think, the gardener. I don't know. I don't know how he slipped in there, but he was really a nerd. So I said, it's kind of a shame when people don't think of themselves as nice as they are. Then I said, you've got the real top jackass who thinks he's a lot better than he has. No nerve to think that way because he's a puke. Well, that broke everybody up at the fire station. So I went home laughing all by myself down Walnut Street, laughing away, and people were going up the hill there and staring at me. And I'd say, "Same to you." I said I was fresh. And so it worked for me. And what if you can't make people laugh? Just put yourself as the pigeon, and they will laugh their heads off. But put yourself out there, because if you're going to be witty and all that good stuff, make people appreciate your wit. And it'll give you a start. It never finishes, because people will always have a remark.
What do you cherish most about Dad?
He didn't interrupt. He didn't question. He was kind, so kind. Oh, I mean, that covers a multitude right there. He couldn't say anything unkind. I don't know what he was thinking, but that's his business. You have to have something you cherish, your own thoughts, and don't readily give them away, They're you. They represent you. So I had Mr. Card, who was anything but a card.
Mom, why do you think you were such a good mom to Robert and me?
It was my own intelligence. That's what I have to put out there. That was my take, that I thanked God every day that I was born and that I didn't hurt anybody's feelings and that I was short and sweet. That's what you call that. Had an answer for everybody and it was always against myself. I made fun of myself, and that's what I enjoyed, because people love that. You don't pick on anybody in particular, and people are going to say she doesn't like he, and he doesn't like she, and all this jazz, which is a bunch of baloney. And then the idea is, what do you think of your life? And I said, I thank God that I was born, because I know the difference. And that came out of me when I was just a little kid. So I had a gift that way. And my mother, as I've said many times when I talk to other people, my mother was unforgettable. And she's still that way. I can see her smiling, and big smile all the time. And she had a wit that never matched. I never knew anyone who could match her wit. And so then I had a Mr. Kais, and there was the little guy, the younger guy of these kids that ran the other little store. So I'd go up there and I'd say, this store is a drag. I'm not going to come back to it. Nobody talks, nobody laughs. I said, you have to exchange with people to give them a chance to speak what they're thinking. I said, that's what gives us humor. Oh, and they have this look.
Dad and Robert have a pretty good sense of humor.
Well, I never met anyone like Robert and my husband, Billy Boy. Never met anybody, because then I could have had affairs with a lot of people, but I never did. Didn't have to, didn't need it. And so we had young Mr. Kais and old Mr. Kais.
Mom, who would you say influenced
yes.
your life the most?
Myself. Because I picked up on everything that people said. I took them at their word for it. I didn't question anyone. I made fun of it so we could laugh. And I think that's what I enjoyed most of all, to be able to laugh at myself and not make fun of other people. And that brings you right through.
Who do you think impacted your life the most besides yourself?
My mother. She was indescribable. Charmed the birds out of the trees, 5 by 5, and that's 5 feet tall and 5 feet wide. She loved food, and she made people laugh wherever she was. Didn't matter where she was. And one day she called me, Dorothy, dear, meet me at the corner of Walnut and Highland Avenue. We'll go to lunch. And I was thrilled because I never had any time with her. She was, as I say, indescribable anyway.
Can you tell us about Robert Willard and what it was like having him for a son?
Well, he was sharp. He had an answer for everything, and he knocked out my friends, He was so witty, funny, just funny, like this is, the space in my teeth. And this wiggles all the time. And so once in a while I get a little spray out there. I said, oh, there goes another spit. Just a minute. And I go pretend I was going to clean up my spit. Jeez. And so the bottom line is, laugh at yourself. That's the joy that you give everybody. To make fun of yourself, not one of your little friends, not your neighbors. But I could take them all off very well, because Mr. Card, he didn't even say hello.
So I'd love it if you could say something maybe to Olivia.
Oh, well, I'm loaded with that, because Olivia and myself, we liked each other. And liking is a lot stronger than loving. And you don't run out of it, And so that was my joy. That was my joy all the time. To say, when someone said, well, you compliment everybody, what do you think of yourself? I said, I still don't think I'm as nice as I really am. And I said, it's called modesty. And I said, if you can't make people laugh and keep to your own counsel, then just go back and be reborn if you're lucky. And then in that instant, you will love what you say yourself and thank the Lord that you thought to say that. So that's the top. That's the frosting on the cake when you don't forget what you've said. And I never did forget. So Mr. Card was a droop.
Mom, how about, do you have any memories of Robert and his family? Can you tell us about Robert Willard and what it was like having him for a son?
Well, he was sharp. He had an answer for everything, and he knocked out my friends, He was so witty, funny, just funny, like this is, the space in my teeth. And this wiggles all the time. And so once in a while I get a little spray out there. I said, oh, there goes another spit. Just a minute. And I go pretend I was going to clean up my spit. Jeez. And so the bottom line is, laugh at yourself. That's the joy that you give everybody. To make fun of yourself, not one of your little friends, not your neighbors. But I could take them all off very well, because Mr. Card, he didn't even say hello. Well, I was the only woman, I'll say woman, on the street that was allowed to watch any other child, because I was kind. And my mother was kind and a diplomatic woman, brilliant woman, my mother. And my father, he was irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. When he didn't go by and, give you a little biff or something. He just used to stroke my hair like that. And he had a touch that was indescribable. Gentle as a lamb. And kind. He was so kind. And my mother was, but she knew how to get there. She had that gift herself. And she rubbed off on me because she was diplomatic. So we had the street bunch where I don't remember any liars. I don't remember any liars where I grew up. And then your religion, nobody played on that. Nobody made you say you're a skunk of a Jew or whatever they thought of that was rough.
Do you remember finding the Lord, Mom, and going to
I was 10 years old. Yeah, I was 10 years old. And I was hysterically laughing and crying at the same time because I met Jesus. And it was And that you can't even describe the feeling that you have. You walk like you're walking on air, and everybody, you're nice to everybody. You don't hurt people's feelings. You try to make people feel good that they are who they are. And that doesn't touch you. You're what you're presenting to them. And so that part of it was easy, very easy.
Growing up, where were you? What city did you grow up in?
Massachusetts, that's where I was. I went to the Glein School, and there was young Kais and old Kais, and that was it, Highland Avenue. In between there, Walnut Street and Broadway, and the people that lived on Broadway, they were removed from the rest of the world somehow. And then so you had the conceited bunch that just thought, you know, I said, when they asked me what I thought about myself, I said, well, I imagine I'm like most people. I don't think I'm as nice as I really am. I said, it's called modesty. So I said, that's a winner. You're going to put a human being down, put yourself down.
So, Dot, where have you traveled?
Let's see, I went across the street once to mail a letter. It's about, we had no car, we didn't own a home. We were, never thought of ourselves as poor or poor relations, but that was my walk, and I loved walking. My mother brought us up. We had no car. We didn't have any means for that. So I walked all over the place, and it's the best, and I'm 93. Well, I don't look 93. I'm fudging a little bit. I think I'm 92. And then so there you are, you know, and say, well, give or take a year. One of the neighbors says, who's counting? I said, I think you are. You got 3 fingers. What's that all about? Because he used to go like this, see? He'd go like this. I'd say, what's that all about? Well, it's being able to count to 3. That's and so you take it from there and you run with it. Because what else do you do? If you can make people chuckle, you're rich. You're rich. The people that, I open that door and go down the hall or wherever I go, and it's like old home week. Jenny Penny, see, they've got me, they're using the names that I use for my children, you know, from yesteryear. And so there was that about it.
Dot, what advice would you like to leave behind for your grandkids or your family? What advice would you like to leave?
Well, I guess I've said it all there because I said, you don't have to lie when you tell the truth. And I said, that's the thing that gives you character, because you know there's no changing anything. You speak the truth and make it as, you know, democratic as you can, which was not difficult to do because I had nice neighbors.
What do you think made you such a good mom and why we were so smiley?
Because I never spanked. There was no need to spank. And so that's what made me happy, because I wasn't a disciplinarian. I was just a mother who was honest with her children. I was honest. And that's what brought me through my whole life, honesty. And when I met people who yielded the lily, in other words, praised themselves till they should have choked on some of the words, I didn't bat an eyelash. And when they said, what do you think of yourself? So I said, well, like most people who are honest, we don't think we're as nice as we really are, because we have that in our lives. Modesty is wonderful. And being truthful, you don't have to remember what you said, because it's true. So I said, what could be better than that? And that's it. We liked each other. So we had no reason to be dishonest. We didn't have to stretch the truth. because for myself, I spoke wisely, but kindly. And that's what I liked about myself, that I didn't make up a story and build myself up,
Right.
and made a jackass out of a human being. See, you were pointing to it as I was on my way to get there. Now that tells you a lot, because Robert was, and he was so funny. And of course, Gray, and I called him Gray, he didn't like his name. I said, how about Gray? Well, he didn't respond to that. But all I know is he was a peach, yellow and fuzzy.
This is one of your favorite pictures.
Oh, Billy boy, I know. Green eyes, you have them, and you're like your dad. You're actually like your dad. And honest, meaningfully honest, and not cruel. Oh, yeah.
You and me, why do you think you and me have such fun?
Because we're so different. I took after my mother's second husband, and he was quite plain looking, but he was very witty. So I got the best of two worlds. I was able to laugh at myself, and I've never met a couple just like your dad and I. We believed each other. We didn't stretch the truth. And that's what I'm beholden, because I didn't have to make up a story. Because when you start making things up, you're in trouble. You have to remember what you said. I didn't have to. And here's, do you believe that? I said to Robert, you're such a doll. He said, Mom, you can't think of anything else to say that I'm this doll. I said, you were a doll. You didn't make up a story. And he didn't. And he was hilarious. And I'll prove that if I ever saw Greg again, but I think he's dead. Look at Robert. Look at the little face there. And he was indescribable. And I'm so blessed. And Billy Boy had the beautiful green eyes like you. And I'm homely as a mud fence compared to compared to my relatives. They were all knockouts. I was a droop and a drag.
You and Olivia, right here.
Oh, well, Olivia she was indescribable too. And she didn't have to make up anything. She just had it. She always had it. And she laughed at everything I said. I said, was that funny? She said, you're a scream, Nanny. You're a scream. That's what she'd say to me. You're a scream. And look at Robert. Did you ever see a little fella that cute in your life?
No.
And a smile? And he was only 3.
He's the
He
cute.
was 3. But didn't he have it? He had it. And look at him over here with his little haircut. He says, I got something wrong here. I said, it's well, your hair grew the other way. So I used to have to plaster something to make his hair stay over there. Pretty soon I just gave up. And then I'd make a little spit curl out of that. Robert said, that's not going to work. So the thing that I'm looking at here was B, the contralto, and 4 feet 10, built like Mae West. I mean, really. And she was indescribable. And Franny was, she was from another group somewhere along the way. Franny was, she was unassuming. So she came across as kind of, just herself. And she was, slightly conceited, but didn't know it. That she was just slightly conceited.
Dad taught Robert how to fish.
Oh, my Lord. What a talented kid. And when Greg, he couldn't stop laughing. And he's had tears, you know, coming down. And he said he didn't like his name. And I said, what do you like? Food, he said. I said, well, that's good. So my children were also indescribable. And I guess to me, being the mother and training them to behave, you know, it wasn't difficult because I told the truth, but I knew how to say it. So I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. And so I walked all over Somerville, I know, and I had friends all over the place that just say, you know, I'd hear this, hi, Dottie, hi, up there on Broadway, and I'm looking around to see who's saying hey, because I was going to say something funny, because people want you to do that. That's why they called on me. So I was and look at this, you know, homely as a mud fence, and looked like my father. And he must have been something else. Mama said he was the most brilliant man I ever met. So then I said, I'm going to hold that word, brilliant. That's going to be my creed. I'm very brilliant.
That's a good one, Mom.
That's a good one. And Robert was indescribable. But when he was a pastor, a counselor, and all that. And look at him. I mean, he's handsome. I don't look a thing like him and vice versa. But this little guy here, that's the same little guy, and you called him Rabu. And it was adorable. And he called you Jeffeter. Not Jennifer, Jeffeter. I said, well, there's an N in there. He said, Dad, all right, Nanny. That's what he said to me a lot. Dad, all right, Nanny. And I apologized to him once. And he gave me a big hug. He said, that'll be all right, Nanny, Mama. You know, he'd pat my hand. And then I'd hold it. He says, your hands are strong. I said, just keep that in mind. I've got strong hands. And I had to go with it. I was full of what makes the grass grow green. But the children didn't know that, you know. And I'd say that to them. I said, your mama is dumb as a plank. And Robert said, what's a plank? I said, a dumb person. Oh, I don't think you're dumb as a plank. I said, good, I didn't want you to think that, but I said, I didn't want to change your mind. I want you to change it. And the people that you meet and so forth. Well, I remember all the names of the neighbors on the street, their religion, everything. Because I'm still a people person. And here, you know, I open that door and go out there, and there's nobody that I care to ever see again. Because you get used to them, used to the people. And so when I go out there and open the door wide and step outside, I'm home. I'm just home. And I have no place to go with that. The idea is to be yourself and be honest. Be honest. If there's something that you like to get across, choose your words if you have it. If you don't have it, shut your big mouth, you know, and let people go their own way. And so I could do that easily because I talk too much anyway.
Ashley and Jason, Mom.
Yeah, well,
Robert's children.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, I just think she was a true blue. And his children, Ashley,
Jason.
Jason.
Jason's hilarious.
Well, I remember Jason because poor Greg couldn't get his breath. He would just not be able to get his breath. So he endeared himself to me because he laughed at everything Robert said. He said, I remember Gray put, and I said, I'm going to call you Gray, because it has a little ring to it, Gray, not Greg. He didn't like his name. So he didn't respond when I said, well, how about just Gray? And she's much like her dad. She says it like it is, but she's brilliant. And he was quiet about his intelligence. And that's a plus. It's a big plus. And when I go to the store or something, I'd hear, hi, Daddy, hi. It'd be somebody up on Highland Avenue. I mean, really yelling for me to hear them. I said, hi. And I said, who are you? I did that a lot. But Franny was unassuming. And so in that instance, she wasn't overly bright. And I love that you're my daughter. And we're so on the same page there. Because I never had questioned, never questioned where you went when you were by yourself, what you did when you were by yourself. I never third degreed anybody, nobody. And for the neighborhood I grew up with, well, they were all of a different religion.
Mom, Robert and I are very grateful that you are our mom. You raised two wonderful people, and we love you. And it was no accident that the Lord gave you, us, and us to you. And I love you, Mom. You're the best mom. Whatever it was that made you who you are, we are very grateful for that. And for Dad as well, of course.
I know it because he was a jewel. Just a jewel. Honest. That's the bottom line right there. You don't have to play with the truth. It's there. You just have to say it kindly, you know, so the person will know to whom you're speaking. That comes across full bore. Full bore. And so that's it, you know. It's God bless America.